The gathering Storm Admiral Kethvar stood on the bridge of his massive flagship, the Dominion's Wrath. Through the viewing window, he could see the greatest war fleet the Zephyrian Confederation had ever assembled. 2,047 ships stretched out in perfect formation across the dark void of space. Each vessel gleamed with the silver and blue colors of the Confederation, their hulls bristling with weapons that could crack planets in half. The Admiral's 4 arms moved with practiced ease as he reviewed the data tablets floating before him. His scaled skin shifted from deep purple to satisfied blue as he read the intelligence reports about their next target, humanity. "Such a primitive species," he muttered to his second-in-command, Colonel Vextai. "Look at these reports. They still use chemical rockets for basic transportation. Their weapons are simple projectile launchers. They do not even have proper energy shields on most of their ships." Colonel Vextai nodded, her own skin showing agreement patterns. "The Intelligence Division has confirmed it, Admiral. Humans have barely mastered faster-than-light travel. Their largest warship is smaller than our escort vessels. This conquest should take no more than a few cycles." Admiral Kethvar's mandibles clicked in amusement. The Confederation had conquered 17 different civilizations over the past century. Each time they had faced increasingly sophisticated enemies. The crystal beings of Andromax had fought with pure energy weapons. The hive minds of Sector 7 had thrown millions of bioships at them. The machine intelligences of the Outer Rim had tested even their best admirals. But humans? Humans were different. They were weak. "How many ships do the humans have in their entire fleet?" the Admiral asked. "According to our spies, approximately 300 vessels total," Vextai replied. "Most are cargo haulers and mining ships. They have perhaps 50 actual military vessels, and those are poorly armed." The Admiral's skin rippled with dark amusement. His fleet alone had more firepower than the entire human military. This would not be a battle. This would be an extermination. On the bridge screens, communications officers worked to maintain contact with all ships in the fleet. Battle commanders ran final checks on weapon systems. Engineering crews reported perfect readiness. Across all vessels, everything was proceeding exactly as planned. Meanwhile, far across the galaxy on a small blue planet called Earth, alarms were blaring in the Human Defense Council chambers. General Patricia Morrison slammed her fist on the conference table as she read the alien ultimatum for the 3rd time. "Surrender or face complete destruction," she said aloud. "They give us exactly 72 hours to submit to their rule." Around the table, the other council members looked grim. Admiral James Park of the Human Fleet spoke first. "Our scouts confirm it. Their fleet is massive. We have never seen anything like it. 2,000 ships, General. We could throw everything we have at them and barely scratch their paint." Dr. Elena Vasquez, the head of Human Colonial Affairs, pulled up holographic displays showing human settlements across known space. "We have 47 colony worlds and 6 major stations. If we fight and lose, they will likely kill everyone. The intelligence report suggests the Confederation does not take prisoners." General Morrison stared at the data. The choice seemed impossible. Surrender meant slavery for all humanity. Fighting meant death for all humanity. "What about the other species?" asked Admiral Park. "Could we call for help?" Dr. Vasquez shook her head. "Most aliens consider us too primitive to bother with. The few who might help are too far away or too weak themselves. We are on our own." The room fell silent as each council member considered their options. Outside the windows of the council chamber, they could see the lights of human cities stretching to the horizon. Millions of people going about their daily lives, unaware that their entire species faced extinction. General Morrison was about to call for a vote on surrender when her communication device chimed. A message had arrived from the outer system, marked as urgent military traffic. "What is it?" Admiral Park asked. Morrison read the message, then read it again. Her eyebrows shot up in surprise. "It is from Captain Sarah Chen of the cargo freighter Persistence. She is requesting permission to intercept the alien fleet. Admiral Park almost laughed. The Persistence? That old cargo hauler? What could she possibly do against 2,000 warships? Morrison kept reading. Captain Chen says she has a plan. She is requesting immediate clearance to approach the Confederation fleet with a crew of 12. Dr. Vasquez looked confused. 12 people against an entire invasion force? Has Captain Chen lost her mind? The general typed a quick response denying the request. But even as she sent it, another message arrived from the Persistence. Captain Chen was already underway, having launched without waiting for permission. Get me a direct line to that ship, Morrison ordered. Within minutes, Captain Sarah Chen's face appeared on the main screen. She was a woman in her 40s with graying hair and calm, intelligent eyes. Behind her, the bridge of the Persistence looked cramped and functional rather than military. Captain Chen, General Morrison said sternly, you do not have authorization for this mission. Return to port immediately. Chen smiled slightly. With respect, General, by the time you finish debating this decision, the Confederation fleet will be knocking on Earth's door. My crew and I have a different approach in mind. Admiral. Park leaned forward. Captain, I have reviewed your ship's specifications. The Persistence is a cargo freighter with minimal weapons and basic shields. You cannot possibly engage a fleet of that size. You are absolutely right, Admiral, Chen replied. We cannot fight them, but we do not plan to fight them. Dr. Vasquez spoke up. Then what exactly do you plan to do? Captain Chen's smile grew wider. We plan to fix their problem. See, the thing about humans is that we are very good at fixing things. We have been maintaining alien technology for decades. We understand how it works better than most aliens do. And if you understand how something works... She paused for effect. You understand how to make it stop working? The council members exchanged glances. General Morrison felt a tiny spark of hope, though she tried to suppress it. Captain, Morrison said carefully, are you saying you have found a weakness in Confederation technology? General, we humans have been the galaxy's maintenance crew for so long that we know every system, every component, and every flaw in alien engineering. The Confederation builds impressive ships, but they build them with technology we service every day. The Persistence may look like a simple cargo hauler, but my engineer Marcus Webb has made some very interesting modifications. Admiral Park shook his head. Even if you could disable a few ships, there are over 2,000 of them. Captain Chen's expression became serious. Admiral, when a system fails, it often causes other systems to fail. And when you really understand how things connect together, you can make failures spread very quickly through a network. Before anyone could respond, Chen continued. My crew has been preparing for this possibility for months. We have identified critical vulnerabilities in Confederation ship designs. We believe we can create cascading system failures throughout their entire fleet. General Morrison felt her heart racing. Could it be possible? Could one small ship really cripple a massive invasion force? Captain Chen, she said slowly, if you are wrong about this, you and your crew will die, and humanity will still face the same choice between surrender and destruction. Chen nodded. That is true, General. But if we are right, then maybe humanity does not have to choose between those options at all. The council members looked at each other. The plan sounded impossible, but they were already facing impossible odds. Finally, General Morrison spoke. Captain Chen, you have already launched without authorization. I cannot order you to continue, but I will not order you to stop. Good luck. Thank you, General. See you on the other side. The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in tense silence. Somewhere in the darkness between stars, the Persistence raced toward a confrontation that would determine the fate of humanity. Admiral Kethvar's fleet continued its steady advance toward human space, completely unaware that their greatest challenge would come not from humanity's strongest warship, but from 12 humans on a cargo freighter who understood exactly how alien technology worked. David and Goliath. The bridge of the Dominion's wrath erupted in confused chatter as sensors detected an impossible reading. Admiral Kethvar's skin shifted to shocked yellow as he stared at the tactical display. "Report," he commanded, his four arms moving rapidly across control surfaces. Sensor operator Quildar's tentacles trembled as she double-checked her readings. "Admiral, a single human vessel has just dropped out of hyperspace directly ahead of our formation. Distance, 50,000 kilometers." Colonel Vextai moved to the sensor station, her own disbelief clear in the rapid color changes of her scales. "Just one ship? Are you certain?" "Confirmed, Colonel. One vessel. Classification appears to be a cargo freighter. No significant weapon signatures. Minimal shielding. Length approximately 200 meters. Admiral Kethvar felt his mandibles click in astonishment. In over 30 years of military service, he had never encountered anything so absurd. A single cargo ship positioning itself between his massive fleet and their target? It had to be some kind of mistake. Perhaps their navigation systems malfunctioned, suggested Tactical Officer Zephyron. Humans do have primitive technology. The ship might be lost. The Admiral considered this explanation. It made sense. Clearly, this small vessel had accidentally stumbled into the path of the Confederation fleet. The humans aboard were probably terrified beyond rational thought. "Open communications," Kethvar ordered. "We shall give them one chance to explain themselves before we destroy them." The main screen flickered to life, revealing the bridge of the human ship. Admiral Kethvar studied the alien faces before him. Humans looked strange with their small mouths and tiny eyes. This particular human appeared to be female, with gray-streaked hair and a remarkably calm expression. "I am Admiral Kethvar of the Zephyrian Confederation Fleet," he announced in his most intimidating voice. "You are interfering with official Confederation military operations. Identify yourself and explain your presence here." The human female smiled slightly, showing her odd white teeth. "Good day, Admiral. I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth vessel Persistence. We are here to request that your fleet withdraw from human space immediately." For a moment, the bridge of the Dominion's wrath fell completely silent. Then several officers began making the chittering sounds that served as Zephyrian laughter. Admiral Kethvar's skin rippled with dark amusement. "Captain Chen, you appear to be confused about your situation. You command a single cargo vessel. I command over 2,000 warships. You are requesting that I withdraw?" Captain Chen nodded politely. "That is correct, Admiral. We understand this may seem unusual, but humanity prefers to resolve conflicts through peaceful negotiation when possible." Colonel Vextai leaned closer to the Admiral. "Sir, this has to be some kind of human psychological warfare tactic. No species could be this naive." The Admiral's amusement was growing stronger. These humans were even more primitive than the intelligence, reports had suggested. They seemed to have no understanding of military power or basic tactical reality. "Captain Chen," Kethvar said, his voice dripping with condescension, "I will explain your situation very simply. Your entire species has 72 hours to surrender unconditionally to Confederation rule. If you refuse, we will destroy every human world and installation. There will be no negotiation. There will be no mercy. Now I suggest you return to your home and advise your leaders to accept the inevitable." Captain Chen's expression remained calm and friendly. "I appreciate you taking the time to explain your position, Admiral. However, I am afraid we cannot accept those terms. Humanity values its independence quite highly." The Admiral felt his patience running out. This conversation was becoming ridiculous. "Captain, you seem to misunderstand the concept of military superiority. You have one ship. I have 2,047 ships. Your vessel could not survive even a single. Weapons burst from my smallest escort." "You are absolutely right about that," Chen agreed. "The Persistence is not designed for combat. We are engineers and technicians, not soldiers." Tactical Officer Zephyron's skin showed confusion patterns. "Then why are you here? What do you hope to accomplish?" Captain Chen's smile grew slightly wider. "We hope to demonstrate that sometimes the best solution to a complex problem is not more force, but better understanding." Admiral Kethvar had heard enough. These humans were clearly either insane or too stupid to comprehend their situation. Either way, a demonstration of Confederation power would end this farce quickly. "Colonel Vextai," he ordered, "signal the destroyer Swift Talon. Have them target the human vessel and fire a single disruptor burst. Not enough to destroy them, just enough to disable their engines. Perhaps a taste of our power will help them think more clearly." "Yes, Admiral." Vextai transmitted the orders immediately. On the tactical display, the small red triangle representing the destroyer Swift Talon moved closer to the single blue dot marking the human ship. Admiral Kethvar watched with satisfaction as the destroyer's weapon systems powered up. Captain Chen's voice came through the communications system. "Admiral, I should mention that my engineer Marcus Webb has made some modifications to our ship. We came prepared for the possibility that negotiations might not go smoothly." Kethvar ignored the comment. Humans and their primitive technology posed no threat to Confederation vessels. On the tactical display, the weapon systems of the Swift Talon showed full charge and ready to fire. "Fire!" came the report from the Swift Talon's captain. Admiral Kethvar waited for the explosion, the satisfying flash of light that would show these humans the futility of their position. Instead, his tactical officer's voice came through with confusion and alarm. "Admiral, the Swift Talon reports weapon system failure. Their disruptor arrays have gone offline." Kethvar's skin shifted to surprised orange. "Engineering malfunction?" "Unknown, sir. They are running diagnostics now." The Admiral frowned but was not particularly concerned. Mechanical failures happened, occasionally, even in the Confederation fleet. "Signal the Swift Talon to use backup weapon systems." A few moments passed. Then the tactical officer spoke again, his voice more concerned than before. "Admiral, the Swift Talon reports that their backup weapons are also offline. Additionally, their main engines have shut down. They are running on emergency power only." Now Admiral Kethvar felt the first stirring of unease. One system failure could be explained. Multiple system failures happening simultaneously suggested something else entirely. Captain Chen's calm voice filled the bridge. "Admiral, I tried to explain that we prefer peaceful solutions. But as I mentioned, we came prepared for alternatives." Before Kethvar could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the bridge. Tactical Officer Zephyron's skin flashed bright. Red with alarm. "Admiral, multiple ships are reporting system failures. The cruiser Dominance has lost main power. The battleship Eternal Victory reports complete engine shutdown. Sir, I am reading cascading failures throughout the third battle." "Group!" Admiral Kethvar stared at the tactical display in growing horror. Red warning symbols were appearing next to ship after ship in his fleet. Vessels that had been operating perfectly moments ago were suddenly going dark. "How is this possible?" Colonel Vextai demanded. Captain Chen's voice answered her question. "Colonel, humans have been working as technicians and engineers throughout this galaxy for decades. We maintain alien technology, we repair alien systems, and we upgrade alien computers. Over the years, we have learned a great deal about how everything works." More alarms sounded. The Admiral watched helplessly as additional ships reported critical failures. His perfect formation was dissolving into chaos as vessels lost power, lost navigation, lost communications. "And the thing about understanding how technology works," Captain Chen continued conversationally, "is that you also understand how to make it stop working." Admiral Kethvar realized with dawning horror that his massive fleet was under attack, but not from weapons he could see or understand. The humans were somehow causing his ships to destroy themselves from within. "What have you done?" he whispered. "Captain." Chen's image on the screen remained calm and professional. We have simply reminded your fleet's computer systems of some critical safety protocols they appear to have forgotten. Nothing permanent, Admiral. Once you withdraw from human space, I am sure your engineering teams can restore normal operations. The tactical display now showed over 300 ships with various system failures. The greatest military fleet in Confederation history was being crippled by a single cargo freighter and 12 humans who understood alien technology better than the aliens themselves. For the first time in his career, Admiral Kethvar began to understand that he might not win this battle. The human advantage. Inside the cramped engineering section of the Persistence, Marcus Webb wiped sweat from his forehead as he monitored dozens of displays showing the status of the Confederation fleet. Around him, his small team of engineers worked frantically at control stations that had been modified far beyond their original specifications. Status report. Captain Chen's voice came through the internal communications system. Marcus keyed his microphone. We have successfully infiltrated 743 ship systems so far, Captain. The Cascade protocol is working better than we hoped. Each ship we disable is automatically spreading the signal to nearby vessels. At a nearby station, engineer Lisa Park looked up from her displays. Marcus, the battle group commanders are starting to isolate their networks. They are trying to stop the spread. Marcus nodded grimly. Expected response. Activate the secondary infiltration protocols. Use the maintenance channels. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, the team's computer systems specialist, raised her hand. Marcus, you should explain to everyone what we are actually doing here. Some of the crew still think this is impossible. Marcus paused his work and looked around at his fellow humans. Captain Chen had assembled this crew carefully over the past 6 months. Each person was an expert in alien technology, and each had spent years working on Confederation ships and systems. Right, Marcus said. Let me explain why this is working. He pulled up a holographic display showing the basic design of a Confederation warship. The Zephyrian Confederation builds very advanced ships. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours in many ways. But there is something they do not understand about technology. Engineer Tom Rodriguez looked confused. What do you mean? They build their ships to be perfect, Marcus explained. Every system is designed to work flawlessly under ideal conditions. Their engineers focus on making things more powerful, more efficient, more sophisticated. But they do not spend much time thinking about what happens when things go wrong. Lisa Park nodded in understanding. Because they expect their technology to never fail. Exactly, Marcus said. Humans are different. Human technology breaks all the time. We have been dealing with mechanical failures, software bugs, and system crashes for our entire history. We do not just know how to build things. We know how to fix them when they break. And more importantly, we know how things break. Dr. Walsh pulled up another display showing the internal network structure of a Confederation ship. Look at this network architecture. It is incredibly sophisticated, but it has no redundancy protocols for systematic failures. The Zephyrians never considered that someone might deliberately cause cascading system breakdowns. Marcus pointed to specific connection points on the display. Every Confederation ship uses standardized components and communication protocols. They did this to make maintenance easier and to ensure compatibility across their fleet. But it also means that if you know how to access one ship's systems, you can access them all. Engineer Rodriguez was beginning to understand. And we know how to access their systems because we have been fixing their ships for decades, Marcus finished. Humans are the best technicians in the galaxy. Not because we are smarter than other species, but because we understand failure. When a Zephyrian ship breaks down, they call human engineers to fix it. When a Cardani space station has computer problems, they hire human technicians. When an Altarian mining operation needs maintenance, they bring in human mechanics. Captain Chen's voice came through the speakers again. Marcus, the Admiral is demanding to know what we have done to his fleet. How do I explain this? Marcus keyed his microphone. Tell him we have not attacked his ships, Captain. We have simply reminded their computer systems about safety protocols that were being ignored. Dr. Walsh smiled as she worked. That is actually true. Most of what we are doing is activating legitimate safety shutdowns that the Confederation disabled to improve combat performance. Marcus nodded. Zephyrian military doctrine focuses on maximum power output. They bypass safety systems to get more energy to weapons and engines. But those safety systems exist for good reasons. When we reactivate them and combine it with some creative interpretation of error conditions, Engineer Park finished the thought. The ships shut themselves down to prevent damage. Right, we are not destroying anything. We are just convincing their computers that they are about to be destroyed, so the computers activate emergency protocols to protect the ships. At his station, Engineer Rodriguez was monitoring the progress of their electronic warfare attack. Marcus, this is incredible. We have disabled over 900 ships now, and the effect is still spreading. Marcus checked his own displays. The Confederation fleet was in complete chaos. Ships were going dark by the dozens as their computer systems detected what they believed to be critical emergencies and automatically shut down non-essential systems to prevent catastrophic damage. The beautiful thing, Marcus explained to his team, is that each ship we disable becomes a transmission point for the signal. The Confederation uses networked communications for fleet coordination. Every time a ship tries to report its status to the fleet command, it spreads our infiltration. Protocols to other vessels. Dr. Walsh looked up from her station with excitement. Marcus, I am seeing something interesting. The Confederation ships are trying to isolate their networks, but they cannot completely disconnect without losing all coordination. They are trapped between defending against our attack and maintaining fleet communications. That is the other advantage of understanding how things break, Marcus said. We know which systems they can afford to shut down and which ones they cannot live without. They have to keep certain channels open for basic fleet operations, and those channels are exactly what we need to spread our signal. Captain Chen's voice came through again. Excellent work, team. The Admiral is looking very unhappy. How long can we maintain this? Marcus considered the question. As long as our own systems hold up, Captain. The persistence is running hot, but we built these modifications to handle this kind of workload. The real question is how long it will take the Confederation to develop countermeasures. Engineer Park raised a concern. What if they decide to just ram us? Some of their ships are still operational. They could try, Marcus admitted, but ramming us would not restore their disabled ships, and every minute they spend trying to attack us is another minute for our signal to spread through their fleet. Dr. Walsh made an announcement that brought smiles to everyone's faces. Marcus, we just passed 1,000 disabled ships. That is almost half their fleet. Marcus felt a surge of pride. For months, he and his team had worked in secret to develop these electronic warfare systems. They had studied every technical manual, every maintenance report, and every system diagnostic from Confederation ships. They had identified vulnerabilities that the aliens did not even know existed. The thing about being a maintenance technician, Marcus said to his team, is that you see technology from a different perspective than the people who design it. Designers think about what they want their creation to do. Technicians think about all the ways it can fail to do that. Engineer. Rodriguez nodded enthusiastically. And after fixing the same problems over and over again, you start to understand the patterns. You learn which components fail first, which systems are most vulnerable, and which safety protocols can be exploited. Exactly, Marcus said. The Zephyrian Confederation builds impressive ships, but they built them with technology that we service and maintain every single day. They never considered that their maintenance crews might turn that knowledge against them. Captain Chen's voice interrupted their discussion. Marcus, the Admiral is demanding to speak with me again. I think he is starting to panic. Marcus smiled grimly. Tell him we are willing to negotiate, Captain. But make it clear that every minute he delays, more of his ships will be disabled. Time is on our side now. As the team returned to their work, Marcus looked around at his fellow humans with pride. They were not soldiers or warriors. They were engineers and technicians who understood that the most powerful weapon in the galaxy was not a bigger gun or stronger shield. It was simply knowing how things worked well enough to make them stop working. The Confederation had brought 2,000 ships to destroy humanity. But they had made one critical mistake. They had brought technology that humans understood better than they did. Controlled Chaos Admiral Kethvar's skin had shifted to deep red with rage and humiliation as he stared at the tactical display. Over half of his magnificent fleet now showed red warning indicators. Ships that had taken decades to build and years to train were floating helpless in space, victims of an attack he still did not fully understand. "Admiral," Colonel Vextai said urgently, "we are receiving another transmission from the human vessel." "Put it through," Kethvar snarled. "Captain." Chen's calm face appeared on the main screen once again. Her expression remained friendly and professional, as if she were discussing a routine cargo delivery rather than the systematic destruction of the greatest fleet in Confederation history. "Admiral Kethvar," she said politely, "I hope you have had time to consider our request for withdrawal from human space." The Admiral's forearms trembled with fury. "What you have done is an act of war. You have used some form of electronic terrorism against my fleet." Captain Chen tilted her head slightly. "I prefer to think of it as aggressive technical support, Admiral. Your ships were experiencing serious safety protocol violations. We simply helped them recognize and address those issues." Tactical Officer Zephron looked up from his station with panic in his voice. "Admiral, we are continuing to lose ships. The effect is still spreading. We have lost over 1,300 vessels now." Admiral Kethvar felt desperation creeping into his thoughts. His career, his reputation, and his life were all tied to the success of this invasion. Returning to Confederation space with half his fleet disabled would mean disgrace and possibly execution. "Colonel Vextai," he ordered, "signal all remaining operational ships. We will ram the human vessel. If we destroy their ship, perhaps their attack will stop." Colonel Vextai hesitated. "Admiral, we only have about 400 ships still capable of movement. If the humans can disable ships during a ramming attack, we have no choice," Kethvar shouted. "Give the order." On the screen, Captain Chen sighed sadly. "Admiral, I really hoped we could resolve this peacefully." "Marcus, are you monitoring this?" A new voice came through the communication channel. "Yes, Captain. We are ready for Phase 2. Admiral Kethvar watched in growing alarm as his remaining ships began moving toward the Persistence. But even as they accelerated, more red warning lights appeared on his tactical display. Ships that had been functional moments ago were suddenly reporting critical system failures. "What is happening?" he demanded. Sensor operator Quildar's tentacles were shaking as she read her displays. "Admiral, the human ship is launching some kind of objects. Dozens of them. They appear to be small automated units." On the main screen, Captain Chen's image was replaced by a view of space around the Persistence. The human cargo ship was indeed releasing what looked like metallic pods, each one about the size of a small fighter craft. "Those are not weapons," Dr. Jennifer Walsh's voice came through the communication channel. "Those are mobile electronic warfare platforms. We built them from spare parts and debris from the ships you have already lost." Admiral Kethvar stared in disbelief as the small human-built devices spread out around the Persistence. Within minutes, each pod was emitting its own electronic signals, creating a growing network of interference that reached out toward his approaching ships. "Impossible," Colonel Vextai whispered. "They are building additional attack systems in real time?" Marcus Webb's voice answered her question. "It is amazing what you can accomplish with standard industrial fabricators and a good understanding of electronics. We have been manufacturing these platforms for the past hour using raw materials from your disabled ships." The Admiral watched helplessly as his ramming attack dissolved into chaos. Ships that had been charging toward the human vessel began losing power and drifting aimlessly. The mobile platforms were coordinating their attacks, targeting each approaching vessel with precision. "This is impossible," Tactical Officer Zephyron exclaimed. "How can they build effective weapons so quickly?" Captain Chen's voice returned to the channel. "Officer Zephyron, these are not weapons in the traditional sense. They are diagnostic and maintenance tools, modified for remote operation. Every pod contains the same basic systems we use to service and repair alien technology." Engineer Lisa. Park's voice added explanation. "The pods are equipped with standard maintenance interfaces that are compatible with all Confederation ship systems. From your ship's perspective, each pod appears to be an authorized maintenance station requesting diagnostic access." Admiral Kethavar began to understand the horrible cleverness of the human strategy. His ships were being disabled by their own maintenance protocols, convinced by the human devices that they needed immediate service and repair. "Your fleet's computer systems are designed to accept maintenance signals from authorized technicians," Marcus Webb explained. "Since humans have been providing maintenance services throughout this galaxy for decades, your ships recognize our technical interfaces as legitimate and trustworthy." Colonel Vextai's skin showed deep purple patterns of fear. "They are using our own trust in human technical expertise against us." "That is correct," Captain Chen said. "For years, your people have relied on human engineers to keep your technology working. Your ships are programmed to believe that when a human maintenance signal tells them something is wrong, they should shut down and await repair. The Admiral's ramming attack had completely failed. Of the 400 ships he had sent toward the human vessel, fewer than 50 were still operational. The rest were floating dead in space, their crews stranded and helpless." "Admiral," Captain Chen continued, "I want to be very clear about your situation. You currently have fewer than 200 functional ships remaining from your original fleet of over 2,000. My engineering team is manufacturing additional electronic warfare platforms every few minutes. The longer you remain in human space, the more of your fleet we will be forced to disable." Admiral Kethvar felt the crushing weight of defeat settling on his shoulders. The greatest military force in Confederation history had been systematically destroyed by 12 humans on a cargo ship who simply understood alien technology better than the aliens did. "What do you want?" he asked quietly. "I want you to withdraw your fleet from human space immediately," Captain Chen replied. "Order your remaining ships to retreat beyond the border. Once you have withdrawn, we will provide technical assistance to help restore your disabled vessels." The Admiral's mandibles clicked in bitter irony. Even in defeat, he would still need human help to repair his ships. "And if I refuse?" Captain Chen's expression became slightly sad. "Then in approximately 6 hours you will have no functional ships left at all. Admiral, we did not want this conflict. We prefer peaceful solutions, but we are prepared to defend ourselves using every advantage we possess." Colonel Vexatai leaned close to the Admiral's ear. "Sir, we have no choice. If we continue fighting, we will lose everything." Admiral Kethvar closed his eyes and felt the bitter taste of defeat. His career was over. His reputation was destroyed. But if he retreated now, at least some of his ships and crews might survive. "Very well," he said finally. "We will withdraw." Captain Chen smiled with what appeared to be genuine relief. "Thank you, Admiral. I truly believe this is the best outcome for everyone involved." As Admiral Kethvar gave the orders for retreat, he realized that he had learned something important about humans. They were not just primitive technicians and maintenance workers. They were engineers who understood that the greatest weapon was not always the biggest gun, but simply knowing how to make the other side's guns stop working. The mighty Confederation fleet began its humiliating withdrawal, leaving behind nearly 1,500 disabled ships and the knowledge that they had been defeated not by superior firepower, but by superior understanding. The new paradigm. 3 days after the battle, Admiral Kethvar sat in his personal quarters aboard the Dominion's Wrath, staring at a cup of bitter Zephyrian coffee that had grown cold hours ago. His flagship was one of the few vessels that had escaped complete system failure, though it was operating on backup power and emergency systems only. Around his ship, the remnants of the once mighty Confederation fleet limped through space toward the border of human territory. Rescue vessels from nearby systems had arrived to collect the crews of the 1,500 ships that remained completely disabled. It would take months to restore the fleet to operational status. A soft chime indicated someone requesting entry to his quarters. "Come," he said wearily. Colonel Vextai entered, her skin showing subdued gray patterns of respect and concern. "Admiral, the human Captain Chen is requesting a final communication before we cross the border." Kethvar sighed deeply. "Put her through." The wall screen activated, showing Captain Chen's familiar face. She was no longer on the bridge of the Persistence, but appeared to be in some kind of engineering workspace surrounded by technical diagrams and computer displays. "Admiral Kethvar," she said with a slight smile, "I wanted to speak with you personally before your fleet departed our space." "To gloat over your victory?" Kethvar asked bitterly. Captain Chen's expression became serious. "Not at all, Admiral. I wanted to make sure you understood what happened here and why." Kethvar leaned back in his chair. "I understand perfectly. You used our trust in human technical expertise to disable our ships with electronic warfare." "That is accurate but incomplete," Chen replied. "Admiral, may I ask you a question?" Kethvar nodded grudgingly. "In your 30 years of military service, how many times have you personally repaired a malfunctioning computer system?" The question puzzled Kethvar. "I am a fleet commander, not a technician. I have never performed such work." "How about your officers? Your crew? How many of them have extensive experience with hands-on technical maintenance?" Kethvar considered this. "Very few. The Confederation military focuses on strategic and tactical training. We have dedicated technical personnel for maintenance work, but most of them are—" He paused as understanding began to dawn. "Most of them are human," Captain Chen finished. "Admiral, your entire military structure depends on a species you considered primitive and weak. For decades, Confederation ships have been maintained, repaired, and upgraded by human engineers. Your officers command ships they do not truly understand, using technology they could not fix if it broke." The Admiral felt a cold realization settling in his mind. "You are saying that our technological superiority is an illusion." "I am saying that technological superiority is meaningless if you do not understand your own technology," Chen corrected. "The Confederation builds impressive ships, Admiral. Your engineering is centuries ahead of ours in many ways. But you build them to work perfectly under ideal conditions, and you never consider what happens when conditions are not ideal." She gestured to something off-screen, and technical diagrams appeared beside her image. "Humans have a different approach to technology. We assume that everything will eventually break, malfunction, or operate outside its designed parameters. We build our systems with redundancy, failure modes, and repair protocols. More importantly, we train our people to understand how things work at a fundamental level." Admiral Kethvar studied the diagrams. They showed human ship designs that were clearly inferior to Confederation vessels in terms of raw capability, but which included elaborate backup systems and repair mechanisms. "When your people encounter a technological problem," Chen continued, "you call for a specialist to fix it. When humans encounter the same problem, we expect every crew member to understand the basics of diagnosis and repair. This difference in philosophy is what allowed 12 humans on a cargo ship to disable your entire fleet." Colonel Vextai, who had been listening quietly, spoke up. "Captain Chen, are you saying that humans deliberately allowed themselves to become the galaxy's maintenance workers as part of some long-term strategy?" Captain Chen laughed softly. "Not at all, Colonel. Humans became maintenance workers because we were good at it, and because other species were willing to pay us well for our services. The strategic advantage was entirely accidental. She paused, thoughtfully. But now that we understand our position, things may change. Your attack on humanity has revealed something important to both our species and to the galaxy as a whole. What do you mean? Kethvar asked. Admiral, consider what happened here from a broader perspective. The Confederation assembled the largest military fleet in its history, equipped with the most advanced weapons and ships available. But that fleet was defeated by a single cargo ship using modified maintenance tools. What does that tell you about the nature of power in this galaxy? Admiral Kethvar was beginning to understand the implications. It tells me that military power is less important than technological understanding. Exactly. And technological understanding requires experience with failure, repair, and adaptation. These are things that humans excel at because we have been dealing with technological problems for our entire history. Captain Chen's expression became more serious. Admiral, I want to be very clear about something. Humanity did not want this conflict. We would have preferred to continue our peaceful relationships with all galactic species. But your attack has forced us to reveal capabilities that we hope to keep secret. What capabilities? Colonel Vextai asked. The ability to disable any alien technology in this galaxy, Chen replied simply. Admiral, every ship in your fleet uses components and systems that human engineers service regularly. Every space station, every colonial installation, every piece of advanced technology owned by the Confederation has been maintained by human technicians at some point. The implications hit Admiral Kethvar like a physical blow. You are saying that humans could cripple our entire civilization if you chose to. We could, Chen admitted, but we prefer not to. Humans benefit greatly from our relationships with other species. We enjoy the cultural exchange, the scientific collaboration, and the economic opportunities that come from galactic civilization. We would rather be partners than conquerors. She leaned forward slightly. However, Admiral, this situation has changed the balance of power in the galaxy. Other species now know that humans possess capabilities far beyond what anyone suspected. Some may see us as a threat, others may see us as potential allies. Either way, humanity will need to be more careful about our relationships going forward. Admiral Kethvar felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. His failed invasion had not just damaged the Confederation fleet, it had fundamentally altered the political structure of known space. Captain Chen, he said slowly, what would you advise the Confederation to do now? Chen smiled sadly. I would advise you to remember that the strongest civilizations are not those with the biggest weapons, but those with the deepest understanding of how things work. The Confederation has impressive technology, Admiral. But if you want to remain secure, you need to understand that technology yourselves, rather than depending on others to maintain it for you. She paused, then added, I would also advise you to treat human technicians with a bit more respect in the future. Today you learned that the people who fix your ships also have the ability to break them. The communication ended, leaving Admiral Kethvar alone with his thoughts. Outside his window, the stars stretched endlessly in all directions, filled with civilizations that would soon learn about humanity's hidden capabilities. The Confederation fleet continued its journey home, carrying with it the knowledge that the galaxy's humble maintenance workers had just become its most formidable power, and somewhere behind them, a single cargo freighter named Persistence was already receiving messages from dozens of species, some offering alliance and others requesting immediate diplomatic negotiations. Captain Sarah Chen sat in her quarters, reading reports and preparing for a future that would be very different from the past. Humanity had wanted only to be left alone, but the galaxy had other plans. Now they would need to decide what kind of power they wanted to be. The age of human technological dominance had begun, not through conquest or intimidation, but through the simple demonstration that understanding how things work is more powerful. than building bigger weapons. In the end, the Confederation had expected a battle and brought their greatest fleet. But humanity had needed only one ship, 12 engineers, and the knowledge that the most sophisticated technology is only as strong as the people who truly understand it.